Yep. Testing 1, 2, 3. Welcome to Rise and Rewind. Testing 1, 2, and 3. Still testing. Not sure if Spike Whitman's still hanging around out there or not. We good?
Check it here, make sure.
We good? Testing, testing.
Welcome to week 3 of Rise and Rewind, presented by the Swanton Welding Company. Hopefully our sound is okay here. It got knocked out just before we came on the air by one of the coffee club members this morning.
I think
Coach Strock.
I think our loyal listeners would be happy if we specified which member came rooting through here, tripping over our equipment.
So we had to start all over right before we got going here this morning. But I think we're good now. If people out there listening can make sure we're good, we would appreciate that.
Yeah, shoot us a message if we're not.
Yeah, I think he knocked out my there we go, my headphones too. Now we're good. Jeez, oh Pete's.
Knowing him, he might have tried to sabotage on purpose.
It could have been. You think that's what happened?
I wouldn't put it past him. He's always thinking a step ahead and always has a plan. So, but doggone it.
Good morning. Good morning from America.
Schedule.
Yeah, good morning from American Freedom Energy here in Liberty Center, along with Tory Strock. I am Lynn Groll. We're going to look back at week number 3, and we get set for week 4 coming up next week already. And a lot of conference action will get going in earnest next Friday. We will be at Delta as Archbold plays the Panthers in a matchup of NWL programs.
Glenn Baden hops on his way to St. Francis, Lynn. I thought I'd just throw that out there for our listeners. Liberty Centers, they're scrambling for freshman games. You know, they got kids ready and willing to play. And it's kind of a rare thing around here now. So good luck to the Tigers at St. Francis. What a picturesque evening for high school football last night, Lynn.
Yep, no doubt about it.
And we were in the friendly confines down the street here
of Rex Lundgren Stadium, where the Tigers rolled 40-0 over at Siegel. We'll get to that recap here as the show goes on. The winning streak of Marion Local almost got picked off by St. Henry last night. We'll get to that one at the end of our show here today. But boy, what an effort from Coach Whirling and his Redskins last night.
You know, even the great teams have a game or two during the season like that, like Liberty Center last year during the regular season. Patrick Henry took them to the wire. Marion Local has a game like that every 5 years, you know, and last night was it. And you always wonder how Marion Local is going to respond because they're never in that situation.
Yeah.
And
week 6 of 2023 was the last time they played a one-possession game.
Man, they
find a way to extend it to 67 last night, and we may get that rematch in the Region 28 playoffs down the road. St. Henry and Marion Local there in Division 7.
I would say it's highly likely. I would hope both teams are still healthy at that point, and that it's an even matchup. But you know, St. Henry and their kids would love another crack at them.
No doubt about that, for sure. Over in Hamler last night, Grove had a game effort against the Patriots, 26-21 in that one. We'll get to that one here very soon as well. Anything else stick out to you from a night ago? Northview finally gets a win, 31-30 over Start. That snapped a 15-game skid for the Wildcats as Barry Bach gets them in the win column.
Congratulations to Coach Bach. If you know Barry Bach, he is a first-class gentleman. But Lynn, the streak was almost not snapped last night. Start lined up, went for two, and they tried to run a quarterback run off the left side. He had blockers, and he would have essentially, based on the video I saw, would have walked into the end zone for the 2 points. Instead, he got a little impatient and he cut it up. Instead of running behind his convoy. He could smell the goal line, so he turns it up. And then give Northview credit. I mean, they got a hold of him on probably the 1 foot line and preserved the victory. So those kids deserve it. Barry Bach deserves it.
Yeah. Anything else jump out at you from a night ago, Coach, as you look through the scores?
Two things. Number one, Lima Bath, the resurgence of that program is cool to see because it's been a long time. Now, Coach Russell's been building this, as you've talked about several times, but there was a decade or more where Bath really wasn't a serious player in the WBL, and just seeing some of their photos and some of their clips and stuff, like they've got guys that look the part, man. Holy cow. A couple of their linemen. And then eye-popping is Napoleon Anthony Wayne. And I've talked to some people since last night, and they're going, what the heck? So I think there's a couple storylines there. Number one, Napoleon gave a gritty effort. I mean, give them a ton of credit. And Anthony Wayne, they're trying to retool a little bit. I mean, they've had a run of tremendous athletes, and they still found a way on the road at Napoleon. So you got to give Anthony Wayne a lot of credit, but also credit to Coach Swery and the Wildcats. That had to have been a dandy. Well, my son was there, so I know it was.
Yeah, 7-0 in that matchup. Matthew Clark said he is headed to Convoy, Ohio this morning for Brian Crestview JV. He was at Edgerton last night, Montpelier Edgerton. That was another dandy from around the area.
Which one was that, Groll?
Edgerton, Montpelier.
Oh,
you got to keep your focus here, Coach Strock.
I know, but
who's bugging you now?
Well, I got a message that said, "Are you guys having technical difficulties?" So I'm curious. Are we not coming through? I'm sorry, Lynn.
You're good. You're good. No, we look good, and everybody's watching. I did have to restart it because we got knocked out by one of the coffee club members, so we had to restart. That may be the issue. They may have to refresh. Whoever you're talking to, have them refresh.
I said, is it
refresh good? And go to our YouTube live.
I said, is it good now? And they said, nope. I said, hit refresh. That's all I got for them. I don't have time to do that.
No, says people are watching, and Matthew Clark says everything sounds good. I think they just have to refresh because the one I started with, that one got knocked out by our good friend here at the coffee club, and everything had to be redone. That's the issue.
You mentioned right before that, Edgerton, Montpelier. Wow, that, in this area would have got some people's attention because I think on paper, everyone assumed Edgerton would just roll. And I think when you're the underdog that heavy going in, I think it gives you a little chip on your shoulder. If you're Andy Robinson and those kids, you're going, wait a minute here. And boy, did Edgerton hold them up on a 2-point try?
2-point try, yes.
Have we? It seems like early in this young season, we've had how many 2-point attempts at the buzzer?
Yeah, we've had a ton of them. Right at the end of games, it seems like every week there's 2 or 3 of them.
I feel like more coaches, it's probably twofold, but I feel like more coaches now just go for 2, go for the win.
Yeah.
And I think some of that is having a super reliable, we know there's no such thing as a sure thing, but having a reliable high school kicker, even for an extra point, is an absolute rarity and a luxury
Right.
Now, some schools don't have that issue.
Right.
But
don't have that everywhere.
No, I would say 70+% of schools don't feel overly confident about their extra point field goal unit.
70 may be conservative.
I know. It could be 85 or more, couldn't
90.
it? Or 90, yeah.
Yeah. Not many Max Walkers, and Max had a couple block last night.
Yeah, he did, which is rare.
Rare for him.
Yeah, because the key is, you got to get a little lift on it, know. And
he's been battling an injury. He hasn't been kicking much. Maybe been part of it. We don't know.
Yeah. But that's something worth investing in. It really is. I know, speaking from experience, and the tradition continues at Napoleon, they've had a soccer player kicking for probably the last 15 plus years. And I know not everybody has soccer, but boy, if you can get a couple kids, at least 2, so you have your upperclassmen and then you kind of groom a freshman, bring them along. It can win you some games, and I think that's part of the reason we see so many people going for 2.
Matthew Clark says Montpelier recovered an onside kick after the failed 2-point try, and then Miles Baker got the game-winning interception on the last play of the game.
Okay,
so they missed the 2-point, got an onside kick,
which is rare,
and then had a pass intercepted to end it for Edgerton.
Matthew, thank you,
Matthew, man. He was all over that Williams County Clash last night.
He was, and I love that, because you can't glean every detail from the stats.
No, you can't, unless you're listening to the game or somehow watched it, and I don't have time to go through 50-some games every night. Neither do you to get back on the air here in the morning. But it's not like it's college football where there's video of everything that you can.
Speaking of onside kicks, Columbus Grove had essentially 3 cracks at it. The first one, they were offsides against Patrick Henry. The second one went out of bounds, which would have been Patrick Henry's football. Where it went out of bounds, they would have elected. But all of a sudden, 3 minutes later, there's a conference of officials, and Grove's lining up to kick it again. And I was listening on the radio at that time, and everybody was confused. Well, Columbus Grove had called a timeout before Verhoff kicked.
You remember the game at Eastwood a couple years ago when Elmwood played there, and they had like 8 onside kicks because they went off sides.
Yes.
A couple other things. That rule needs to get changed. You get 1 crack if you're off sides.
Absolutely.
If the other team recovers or it doesn't go 10 yards, they just decline it, and they take over the ball. You can't keep trying to kick. That rule's got to get changed.
Yeah.
Whoever the person is that is in charge of that rule at the high school level.
Absolutely, because that essentially, it could have cost Eastwood the football game.
Right.
Elmwood kept getting crack after crack after crack.
I think at the end they were kicking from their own 15-yard line because they'd gotten backed up so much.
They were. That was unbelievable. And then on Grove's third try, then I think it was Brian Shirt pounced on it for the Patriots and preserved it. But look forward to talking about that one. Give Andy Schaefer's crew credit, man.
Yeah, yep. Had a great effort in Hamler last night, but fell to 0-3, did the Bulldogs. Coaches, as we now are going to get into a lot of these conferences, the NLL has a couple more weeks of crossover or playing City League action, but a lot of our other conferences are really going to get going. GMC, still Fairview.
I think Fairview's a cut above. We don't know what Paulding is yet.
Yeah.
Haven't
played a stellar schedule so far, have the Panthers.
Tenora is going to be a player in that league.
Mm-hmm.
I really
believe
a
year ago and
I know
made a run.
I really believe it. I think Owen Farrell is really good. Lieb, their receiver, Lynn, he's a really good receiver in this area.
Yep.
I think Tenora's going to have a say in the GMC.
Okay. We run through the rest of our conferences we cover here real quick. NWC, Columbus Grove has owned that, but is Bluffton or an LCC now in that mix?
You have to say, based on our sample size, not so much tradition and history, it's a 2-horse race there. Now, we know Columbus Grove will have a say in it, because they just went through a gauntlet and knocked off a team that's probably going to end the regular season 9-1 and took them to the wire last night.
Yeah, no doubt about it. How about the TAC? Because that's been dominated by Ottawa Hills the last 4 years. That may be changing. Don't know a whole lot about some of the Michigan teams. Probably we know a little bit more about Whiteford. We do stay in touch with Coach Teakin up there.
Yeah.
And that coaching staff. Tommy Eitner on staff there as well with Whiteford. Maybe is it Whiteford in that style of play that they have probably in the TAC this year?
For my money, it is.
Yeah.
For my money, it is. I think if you're really rugged and physical in that league, I just because of what I believe about football,
Eden's maybe not the same dynamic offense they have been the last few years under Coach Olin.
No, they're not as complete as they've been. They were the last couple years Eden across the board, all 5, 6, 7 of their skill positions, whatever it is. They were kind of interchangeable, kind of plug and play. They were all kind of similar, and it's not like that. They drop off in a couple areas this year, but I think it's probably safe to say that Ottawa Hills is probably not going to contend for that championship. And I'd like to be wrong because I love Coach Brandon Carter, but I think there's a changing of the guard in that league.
Yeah. NLL, first the Buckeye. Whitmer's been pretty impressive. Anthony Wayne, a lot of turnover from a year ago. Maybe not the same offense they've had with Grant Kinney at quarterback, but you never count out an Andy Brungard team. Perrysburg has looked pretty darn good. Shutout victory over Fremont Ross last night. Dirk Connor has been he always has his team ready to play. Brady Maxwell has been outstanding for them, and their defense looks like it's playing pretty well.
Perrysburg, Lynn, you said it. Perrysburg's and I picked Anthony Wayne at the outset because of what Andy Brungard's done. But right now, as it stands, I like Perrysburg. I think they almost have a chip on their shoulder. Their win last night was impressive, very impressive. And so I think Perrysburg and Whitmer would be the two, and I like Perrysburg at this point. Another thing about the NLL, you have these crossover games, okay? And what I don't like is, for the most part, how lopsided the crossover games are. Now, Liberty Center or Napoleon and Anthony Wayne last night was an exception. The Wildcats battled them to the wire. These crossover games shouldn't be that lopsided. It's not a Division VI playing a Division II. It is schools similar size. Now, I know Whitmer and maybe some of the others aren't real close, but they should be closer than that, because there was a day and time where to win the NLL, you had to beat Perrysburg. And what they did to Fremont Ross last night, it shouldn't be that lopsided. And so I don't ever want to hear anybody say, well, we got to play the big schools in the crossover. You know what? They should be closer than most of them are.
Okay.
That drives me nuts.
Okay. All right.
That's my rant.
I like that.
That's my rant.
Hey, you got to play the games, right?
Well, you got to play the games.
12 teams get in these days.
Yeah.
Why do you want to play cupcakes?
No, absolutely. I just raise the bar a little bit.
Oh.
Quit.
Columbus Grove has.
They have. And
Toledo Central Catholic has. Not afraid to step out and play a tough non-conference.
No, and get better.
Yeah.
Get better. And so that's the way it is. And I want to see the gap close.
Where is the Cardinal division at? Do we know yet? Or is that wide open?
The easy answer is it's wide open. It's early. But I would say, in my own humble opinion, Napoleon, Clay, and Fremont Ross are the three. I think, is Springfield in that? Because they're in the Cardinal this year, right?
Right.
Is Springfield to be mentioned yet in the same breath with those guys? I'm going to say not yet. But I like what I saw with Clay week 1. Fremont Ross, I know on paper, but if you're going to win the division, then you show better than you did last night against Perrysburg, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Napoleon, I think, showed that they're going to be there every week.
Without their best player so far, George Eggers.
Without their best player, and it's not just at running back, Lynn. Eggers was going to play linebacker this year on defense, and he's unblockable.
Right.
So Napoleon could. Now, it's tough this year. They've got to go on the road to Clay again. They were at Clay last year.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
And I'm assuming it has to do, Clay was in the Cardinal last year. Now they're in the Buckeye. So the schedule kind of flips, crossovers. So they're on the road at Clay again. So it gives Clay maybe a touch of an advantage, but Napoleon could go get that this week.
But a non-conference
That's right.
division game.
Correct.
Though.
Yes, correct.
Now, with how it's set up. Don't think the NWAL needs much analysis. Liberty Center is maybe better than they have been, even in the last couple of years.
I think
this season.
I think the analysis begs this question, and I feel like you've asked this once or twice. Does anyone in the league avoid getting running clocked?
I mean, maybe PH
by Liberty.
Maybe PH. If Delta can, just 3 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards, possess the ball and hold it for 8 minutes of a quarter a couple times, maybe, but can you continually do that against that front and the linebacking crew?
The answer's no. What you said is spot on, Lynn. That's the recipe.
But to me, and what I've seen from Liberty Center the last several years, and really in their entire existence when they've been a stellar program since the Rex Lindgren days, is you have to be able to throw the ball a little bit to beat them. You have to.
You do.
You have to spread them out. You're going to have to spread this defense out this year. You really have no chance. You want to go up and play a wing tee or an option attack against them. You may get a 20, 30-yard run here and there, and you saw it with Mylan Edison a year ago. You saw it Seago do it a night ago. But are you consistently going to get 4, 5 yards? No, you're just not. And what it's taken to beat them is great athleticism. And you have to – I don't know that you have to beat them in the trenches, but you have to be able to just have a little bit of a stalemate with them up there.
Yep.
You saw that the South Range team from 3 years ago that beat them. That's what it's going to take this year. Yep. You're going to have a receiver like South Range had, a really good quarterback that can sling it around, a nasty group of dudes in the trenches, and probably a really good running back too to even have a chance. And that's what's taken. The Richards kid at Perry 2 years ago, and then Scary Terry, Sean Terry, who's now at Missouri from Ironton. You're going to have that to beat this team. And this year they have some D1 dudes.
Yeah. You remember when
they did in the past, but not to the level that they have this year. Garrison Cruz, I mean, he is about as good as ever has come out of Northwest Ohio.
Yeah.
I know Jeff Chapman's probably watching right now or listening. If you go back to the late 80s, early 90s, Ayersville had a kid by the name of Kurt Partee, and I know a lot of people that are watching right now aren't going to remember that name. But if you could find video, he's a little bit like Kurt Partee. And he walked on at Ohio State.
Yeah.
He is that type. Big, hard runner. Doesn't have crazy speed.
Yeah, no.
Not crazy breakaway speed, but he is tough.
Yeah.
And then the X factor for me this season is the way Caden Kreinbrink's throwing the ball around, and then he has a receiver by Jackson Wanzak.
Yep.
I don't know that they've had that the last couple of years.
No, they haven't. And
that big receiver like Jackson Wanzak.
Yeah, I wouldn't say their passing game's dynamic by any stretch.
No.
But they can, and there's more they can do with it. I guarantee you, there's much more they can do with it. Because they have the pieces to do it. But, it's going to take the type of team that you talked about to hang with them, and it remains to be seen. But I think it's going to be difficult to, we're talking about the Delta game. I wanted to say this. I think when Liberty Center plays Delta, and this means nothing coming from me, but when Liberty Center plays Delta, I think you're going to see a game a lot like we saw last night.
Yep, I agree.
I just do. And that's not any disrespect to Delta. It's just when you said it, Lynn, if you're one-dimensional primarily against Liberty Center, you've got to be able to stretch the field.
Maybe the area you can get Liberty Center is their secondary.
Maybe.
And it's still a good secondary.
But
it's not what the linebackers and the defensive front are.
No.
If I'm being honest. It's still good, but that's the only way you're going to get them.
Yep, it is. And, a Liberty Center, like an Elkert on the outside, that's whoever Liberty Benton plays, he's probably going to be the fastest guy on the field.
Yeah.
And so a guy like him maybe to stretch the field. But see, Liberty Center has the luxury of bracketing him and doing some creative things to his side because they can afford to use an extra guy there because they're so stout in the box,
Right.
So they have the luxury of being able to do some things that other teams don't.
Yeah. And that defensive front keeps the linemen away from their linebackers, and they can just run around and play. And those linebackers they're good. Wanzak and Garrison Cruz and who else? Oh, Max Walker's. Jeez.
And on top of everything we said, Lynn, it's one thing to have talent. There's a lot of talented teams out there. You sprinkle in the coaching, okay? And not just the knowledge and drills and reading your keys and that, but the continuity and the relationships that those coaches have with the kids. I mean, coaches don't get enough credit sometimes. Sometimes they get too much. Liberties probably don't get enough because they're very humble about it. Give the kids all the credit in that. But that coaching staff, what they've done, Lynn, is unbelievable.
Yeah, outstanding. Casey Muller and his staff. They're as good as it gets. NBC. Haven't seen Oak Harbor.
No.
They're the two-time defending champions. Got a little bit of film on Eastwood. We saw Otsego a night ago. Don't know about Maumee, what they are after the first couple weeks. Now they did win a night ago, but is the NBC a little more open this season than in the past?
It is. I can't ever figure out. The team that's the biggest puzzle to me, Lynn, and they're good. They're good. But I can't figure them out in terms of talking about competing for league championships is Genoa.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll be honest. I thought Huron, would probably get them a night ago, and they cranked it up a little bit. I don't know. I guess I picked Genoa at the outset, but I think right now you got to say Oak Harbor until somebody proves otherwise.
Yeah. I would agree with that. NWCC, we just covered the one team there, North Baltimore. They're 3-0 for the first time in a long, long time. We'll get to that recap as the show goes on. Can the Tigers maybe get to the top of the conference there? The MAC, is it probably maybe past their biggest test? We don't know. You still have a Munster and Anna possibly. Versailles is 3-0. Are they the level of St. Henry? Coldwater is 2-1, lost to a good Clinton Massey team. Do they have enough to knock off a Marion local team that's maybe not as experienced as they've had in the past with the graduation of those 18 seniors?
Yeah, I think it's going to take kind of a funky night, maybe a windy, rainy, sloppy mess. You get Marion local on a night like that, and it's kind of like the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team. You only got to do it once.
Yep.
If you play, even if St. Henry would have got Marion local last night, they played 10 times, Marion local probably wins 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you just got to get them once. And can somebody do it this year? I mean, they could, but boy, it's just the consistency of Marion local is unbelievable.
Blanchard Valley, Liberty Benton looking like the class of that league. They had a 52-0 lead on Macomb at halftime. I asked you on the game cast, when was the last time Chris Algie was behind 52-0 at the half?
People that don't know, some people kind of just stick to their immediate area and don't venture too far out, which is fine. But if you know anything about that area, in the Blanchard Valley, that Macomb has just been just a powerhouse for a long time. And you don't do that to Macomb. You don't bully them. They most of the time bully others. You don't bully them. Even Liberty Benton, some of their great teams under Scott Garlock and Tim Nichols. Yeah, you didn't bully Macomb,
right?
And 52, I like zilch. I haven't heard that in a while. At halftime is unbelievable. I mean, Chris Algie, I don't know if that's ever happened in his career. I don't know if he's ever been down 28-0, let alone 50.
Yeah, Chris Algie's as good of a football mind as there is. And boy, he had a game plan. How long did that game plan last?
Oh, it's Chris Algie's funny. I've said this many times before. He's like playing a video game. He really is. He could have gone. I mean, he could have been the head coach at Findlay probably 3 times over if he wanted to at Findlay High School. He is happy kind of living in obscurity, so to speak, at a smaller school. And 1 week they'll be 5 wide empty, and you're like, man, he's running the Mike Leach air raid. And then the next week
he's running an academy
exactly
option.
He is, and that's true, and we're not just joking.
I don't know how he does it. But
no,
well, they're struggling with numbers at Macomb, and that maybe tells us where football is unfortunately at in a lot of these communities. And it's a conversation that we've had, and had a long conversation with a good friend yesterday about this for about an hour, and where we are with football numbers and how we get more kids out. And we probably need to do a podcast on it. We honestly probably do. And how do we get numbers built up? But you look at it, just about any school outside of the Liberty Centers of the world these days, divisions 5 through 7, and it's a struggle getting 40 kids out.
I agree with you, Lynn, on the podcast part. I really do. My biggest, I guess the only thing I have to contribute to that, because it's the elephant in the room with the numbers, we can't sustain it.
I don't think anybody wants to address it. It's kind of a tough subject, and there's probably some tough sides of that analysis that need to be said. Don't want to offend anybody, but maybe it is a conversation that needs to be had, and try to figure it out. You can't keep hiding behind it, because it seems like every year we're losing more and more and more kids.
And the reason is, Lynn, the resistance to change. Okay. And that's really what it comes down to. I'll give it to you in black and white here, is adult egos. Okay. It's what I want. I don't want to watch flag football. I want to see some hitting going on. Okay. And that's where it begins and ends, is the decision makers are resistant, because it's been good enough for the last 20 years. Well, listen, times change, pal. And if it continues, that line of thinking continues, and the resistance to changing, then football as we know it, it'll be some 11-man, and it'll be a lot more 8-man, because if we don't reverse the trend, we're done.
Yeah, for sure. One last, I guess we have a couple leagues here to talk about. Catholic High School League, the Detroit league that Central Catholic and St. John's and St. Francis are involved in. St. Francis is in the lower division this season, but Detroit Catholic Central took a big step in repeating with the win over Central Catholic last night on Cherry Street. I have to give the Shamrocks the early edge after just 1 week. They played just 5 conference games in that league, and then the Western Buckeye League is the last one that we have to talk about. And boy, does Bath have enough defense? Do they have enough defense against Walpock? It's probably those two have kind of really separated themselves from the rest of the pack so far. But can they play enough defense? Because Walpock may score 60 the way Bath is playing defense right now. I know Bath is really good.
I know.
But they're giving up a lot of points and yards.
I know. And if you're going to continue to do that, is it going to look like a Big 12 game from over the years where it's 63-59?
Yeah.
You know, they've got the pieces to do it, Bath does, especially up front. You know, we had a real nice conversation off the air with Travis Cooper, you know, who knows the WBL the other night. And he said, Bath's no fluke. He said they've got a lot of linemen that look like Division II or III college guys. And but Walpock right now is a cut above until somebody knocks them off.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Thanks for the little breakdown on our conferences as we get into much of the conference play here coming up in week 4, and the NLL will get going with their division games down the road. Coach, let's take a break and come back and break down the action from week number 3 and last night. The Swanton Welding Company proudly supports our local student athletes and coaches. We're committed to being your local steel fabrication company in Northwest Ohio and building projects across the country. For job opportunities at the Swanton Welding Company, visit www.swantonweld.com or visit them at 407 Zider Way in Swanton. American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store off Route 24 on State Route 109, just south of Liberty Center, now has 88 unleaded fuel and is your one-stop shop for fuel, food, drinks, and much, much more, including locally raised meats and home-baked goods. American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store is proud to support Black Swamp Football and is the host of the Black Swamp Football podcast, football show, and Saturday mornings Rise and Rewind. Stop in and see Glenn and Greg today and make American Freedom Energy and Grandma's General Store a part of your everyday routine. Thank you to our good friend Normie Zider at the Swanton Welding Company, title sponsor of Rise and Rewind this season, and also our host here, American Freedom Energy, Grandma's General Store, Glenn and Greg Badenhop. They have been gracious hosts over the year to us. Boy, they had a tailgate here with the Queso Kitchen. We drove by about 5:30 last night. There were cars everywhere. I don't know where you were going to park. They were back at the Red Barn. They were everywhere.
That looked like the Hamler Summerfest in like 1985. I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah, I'd never seen this place so packed.
It would have been worth stopping in. Now, we had work to do last night, but I would have liked to have just seen the crowd. And I'd like to get, and I'm sure Glenn and Greg have this feedback, but I'd love to get feedback from some of these food trucks like Queso Kitchen. I mean, they had to have told Glenn and Greg, based on the cars we saw, hey, we'll come back every week if you want us to.
Yeah, I heard there was a 45-minute wait for food. They had so many customers.
You're kidding.
45 minutes, yeah. Placed an order, and that was it. That was like at 5 or 5:30. That was pretty early in the evening.
My. Wow.
Yeah. They almost need like 5 food trucks here.
So I was just going to ask you, Lynn, is it a situation where, because this is where the party is on Fridays in Liberty?
Well, there's no watering hole in Liberty Center anymore. And this is it on Friday nights before and after the games.
It is. Wow, that is significant. Yeah, I mean, and it's only going to grow. And then I think post game they get some folks out here.
Oh, yes, for sure.
It's awesome.
Start our recaps from a night ago. Mohawk 40-15 over Ayersville. Ayersville actually closed to within 20-15 late in the third quarter before the Warriors posted 20 unanswered points over the final 15:05 of action. Mohawk had 511 yards of offense, including 310 rushing on 37 attempts. Ayersville, 5 turnovers, 4 interceptions, had 209 yards of offense, and that one did. The Pilots, Caden Bish, ran for 175 yards and 2 scores on 13 carries for Mohawk, who is now 3-0. Eli Berner led the attack for the Pilots, 175 yards and 2 scores on 29 attempts for Ayersville, who is 0-3. And boy, the Pilots have they've tested themselves. Delta, Patrick Henry, and now Mohawk. Delta is the only one that suffered a loss. 8-1 was their non-conference slate, was the Pilots.
Yeah, and I like the number. Eli Berner, 175 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. I love it. Tells me they were able to run the football a little bit and control it, but the 4 interceptions, I mean, that's the proverbial elephant in the room.
That's what Ayersville is struggling with right now, is the passing game. Really struggling. I didn't think they threw for 130 yards a year ago all season.
You know, I'd quit throwing it then. I would. If
they have a Ewers kid who is a big time start receiver. They have another kid receiver that is pretty darn good too.
Is Ewers a good basketball player?
Yes, okay. Outstanding. Just a sophomore.
Yeah, he's a nice athlete. I saw him play basketball last year.
He's a big time basketball player for the Pilots.
Well, then I'll retract a little bit. You need to get them touches.
Yeah, they
need to touch.
They got some guys that can hurt you if you can get them the ball.
So the challenge is going to be, and this can be kind of fun as a coach. Now, not when you're 0-3. I mean, that's not fun. But each week, one of the things that I miss about coaching, Travis Cooper tell you the same thing, is each week trying to find an edge, trying to find a way to give your guys a chance the next week. And that's the kind of the cool thing about coaching. And,
Right.
and you know, Coach Mickey at Ayersville's doing that. You know, he's turning over every stone.
Right. Yeah.
And they're going to find it.
Yeah. 2 years ago, you remember that game in Antwerp where they put Tory and Knieven and Delano in the backfield together for the first time. A year ago, they went to that wing tee. I don't know, midway through this season. Alex Gherkin out there was stopping in, waving at us.
Is my buddy Emerson Gherkin out there?
I don't see her. If she was here, I guarantee you she'd be back here bouncing off the darn walls.
She would. I want to see Emmy, one of my sophomore.
Do you have her in class this year?
Not this year. This year. Hopefully she takes my coaching class next year. She's a lot of fun, but she's spunky, buddy.
He's getting a donut. You think he's bringing that back for us? No, he is not.
Probably taking it home to Emmy.
No, he's eating it himself. I don't think Emmy needs any sugar.
They probably cut her off.
Oh, geez. That kid's a joy, man.
No, I love her. And it's funny because she'll tell me, and Alex will tell you, like, he listens to us every week.
He's not listening right now, though.
No, but he'll catch what he does is he listens to the recordings.
Oh, okay.
And he always watches the archives. And I know because his kids tell me, they've said this many times, he makes us listen too. And so I love it.
Yeah.
Appreciate those guys.
Yeah. Where was I? They went to that wing tee a year ago.
Yeah.
Kind of
Delano.
In the middle part of that season and got that win over Hicksville. We'll see if the Pilots can figure out that offense as the season progresses. Toledo Christian, they fell to 0-3, 26-6 loss at Lakota last night. Lakota scored 19 points in the first quarter and dropped the Eagles to 0-3. The Raiders 3-0, posted 323 yards of total offense, held TC to 184 yards. Jack Detters had 100 yards and the lone Eagles score on 18 carries last night for Toledo Christian. But the 11-man game has been a tough go so far, but glad to see them back playing 11. They have the numbers and find some of the athletes that they've had the last couple years in the 8-man game, and TC will be just fine.
I agree, Lynn. You pretty much took the words out of my mouth. They are gonna be fine, and their schedule is conducive to getting that thing rolling. And a couple years from now,
joining the TAC, I believe next year.
Yep,
is Toledo Christian. Looking forward to following them as they progress through the 11-man game. Patrick Henry 26, Columbus Grove 21. The Patriots now 3-0 as they survived against winless Columbus Grove, who was 0-3 for the first time since 2017. Cal Schrader ripped off 105 yards rushing and 2 scores on 16 carries to pace PH. Jaden Rudder added 78 yards rushing and a score. Reed Krieger had a receiving score and 52 yards on 3 grabs. Brody McClure ran for 86 yards and a score for Grove, while Trevin Baxter had 93 yards receiving on 4 grabs. Good to see Landon Best got dinged up early in that game last night, but looks like he is fine. And Columbus Grove almost pulled one out against a really good Patrick Henry team. Has some injuries that they are battling through right now, and obviously they don't have the depth to maybe overcome some of those injuries that they have. Don't want to get into too much detail on that, but good showing for Columbus Grove. But you know, Andy Schaefer's there's no
moral victories.
No moral victories for him.
No, and the good news is for Grove, they have a chance to rattle off 4 or 5 in a row here coming up.
Right.
Patrick Henry, untested coming into this game. And Bill Inselman will tell you this. Columbus Grove was tested and used to playing 4 quarters. Maybe not as against Liberty Benton so much, but they were on the short end of that. But Patrick Henry hadn't played close to a full game. And so they needed this, and they responded. And I think the whole key for them was being able to run the ball to salt the game. So they had a 2-score lead, looked like they had it wrapped up. And then Trevin Baxter took it a long way, like 65, 70 yards. And that's when the onside kicks came up. But give Grove credit and Patrick Henry. They needed a game like that.
Yeah. Grove is 0-3. 6, 7, 8 years ago or longer, when the playoffs were only 8, they would be in mighty jeopardy of making the playoffs. Now it's at 12, and it was 16 when they made this schedule. Do you like opening up your non-conference schedule with 3 tough games, a rivalry game, then you're playing Liberty Benton, and then you're playing at Patrick Henry? Or do you need to put in a guaranteed win in there?
I'm going to be honest with you, Lynn, and Andy Schaefer may backhand me because, Andy's a tough guy. But, I think you owe it to your kids and your program, because here's the thing. That's asking a lot, okay? That is asking a lot of the kids. Now, when it's 16 teams, when you have a loaded roster full of veterans, a little different landscape. In a normal year at a normal school, I think you need to arrange your schedule in a way. Big time colleges do it, but I think you have to, and not just for the wins per se, but to take some of the load off your kids. What Columbus Grove's kids have had to do for 3 consecutive weeks, Tenora is maybe in similar company, not the same, I don't think, but no one asks their kids, Central Catholic obviously, asks their kids to do what Columbus Grove does. They just don't, and they respond, but can it be sustained? I don't like it. I don't like it.
Okay. Ottawa Hills 12-0 victory over Swanton last night on the road as the Green Bears get their first win over the season. Swanton now has lost 30 consecutive games, and it is now the longest losing streak in Ohio, because Tuscarora Central Catholic picked up a 26 victory over St. Thomas Aquinas last night in New Philadelphia.
So the Swanton Bulldogs, Lynn, are home with the Liberty Center Tigers
this Friday.
Oh. And so I would ask you, and then I know you turn the tables and ask me, probably as a former coach, but if you're Swanton in the days leading up to that game, as far as your prep and game planning and with the kids, how do you approach that? That's the monumental task of all monumental tasks. I think that'd be tough. I think that would be really tough.
I mean, it's a game you can play a billion times, and it's not going to. It's not going to change. It's not going to change.
No. I give Ottawa Hills credit. They've been hit real hard by graduation, and so they've taken a step back, obviously. But that was Swanton's chance.
Mm-hmm.
That was Swanton's chance last night. And they were right there. It was 6-0 late.
Right.
And but essentially, when the thing that sticks out to me, Lynn, is I'm not saying you have to run the football into a cement wall 45 straight times. I'm not saying that. But when you have to attempt 31 passes, and it was close. But if you throw the ball 31 times against Liberty Center, do you know how many times the clock is going to be stopped until there's a running clock? Oh my goodness. And then more possessions for Liberty Center, and they better keep the ball on the ground, use a similar attack to Otsego last night, and just try to minimize the damage. I'm just from a
minimize the damage is what we're getting at here.
Minimize the damage, and that's just the reality. That's what you got to do, and anybody that says otherwise is living in fantasy land.
Ian Densmore, 165 yards rushing for Ottawa Hills. Dennis Robinson, 16 of 31 passing for 129 yards in the loss for Swanton. Oh, yeah, that conversation we've had a lot, and where that program has got to go. I mean, I can't imagine their kids are looking forward to Friday too much.
I think,
unfortunately,
I think as a parent, your kid's a freshman or sophomore corner, okay, and Garrison Cruz, gets the ball on a toss sweep in open space. Yeah, there's some concerns there, even as a parent, let alone coaches and players.
Yeah. Whitmer 48, Southview nothing. Southview has been hampered. They've gotten drilled by injuries, have the Cougars, and they went into Whitmer last night and were no match for Justin Keller and his crew. Whitmer now 2-1, outgained Southview, who was 1-2, 496 to 127, and cruised in this NLL crossover matchup. The Panthers held the Cougars to 12 yards rushing on 20 attempts, while posting 296 yards rushing on 30 tries themselves. Joey Morales paced the Whitmer rushing attack, 152 yards and 3 trips to pay dirt. Anthony LaRoe was 5 of 8 passing, 128 yards and 2 scores. Jameer Wells racked up 1.5 sacks on defense for Whitmer, but a total mismatch in that one, in that crossover game. And tough right now for Steve Hardy and crew at Southview. With they have a ton of injuries that they are dealing with at the moment.
See, you have such a great relationship with a lot of the coaches, like I do, and you know a little more insight than I do a lot of times. And this is how trustworthy you are, Lynn. You don't even tell me half the stuff that you know, honestly, because I did not know that about the Southview injuries, and I respect that about you, by the way. But I didn't even know that about the Southview injuries. There was a day in time, and Steve Hardy's one of the good guys in the business, man.
Yeah,
I respect him so much. But there was a day in time where the Southview Cougars would have rolled into Whitmer and spanked them.
Yeah,
there was.
Yeah.
And so times change and so forth. But
yeah, boy, it's when you're battling the injury bug and you have to go through the trifecta of Whitmer, Findlay, and then Perrysburg. Oh,
yeah, that's where the crossovers that I kind of ranted about earlier, they become just really almost insurmountable, because so you limp into the crossovers, and then you need enough healthy, able, capable bodies to play the rest. So you get to your Cardinal Division games, and you know,
South, you've been shut out the last 2 weeks, 14-0 against Clay, and then Findlay, and then Perrysburg here the next 2 weeks. Then you get a trip to Napoleon to start Cardinal Division play, home with Fremont Ross. Then you start with maybe the 2 teams in the Cardinal that are at the top, possibly throw Springfield in there as well.
Yeah, that's tough. And as we said a couple weeks ago, you know, all crossover games are not created equal.
No, they're not.
No, they're not. And so I feel it. I feel it for those guys. Those are tough.
Speaking of Perrysburg, 31-0 at home last night over Fremont Ross. Brady Maxwell, 17-22, 203 yards and 2 scores, while adding 2 rushing touchdowns to improve Perrysburg to 2-1. The Little Giants now 2-1 as well. Ethan DeVries hauled in 7 of the passes, 119 yards and 1 score. So Perrysburg defense is pretty good, Coach. Held Fremont Ross to 117 yards overall last night.
I think Perrysburg has really, really good team speed. And I'd
like to see Perrysburg. They lost to Olentangy last week, 28-20. They rolled Bowling Green 64-0. So they've given up 28 points in 3 weeks. Going to be a heavy favorite against Springfield this week, who has improved, but they're still going to be a heavy favorite. Huge favorite over Southview in 2 weeks, and a huge favorite over Northview at the end of the month. And then they're home with Findlay, at Clay, home with Anthony Wayne, and then they finish out the season at Whitmer. Going to come down to those last 2 weeks for Perrysburg. They're not going to be tested here the next few weeks.
They're going to be a favorite in all except maybe the last game. They will be a favorite, and I think they're on a mission. I don't know if people understand how, and I know it's a loss. A loss is a loss, but how significant that showing was at Olentangy, and they had a chance to win that game. Olentangy is
Olentangy lost last night to Olentangy Orange 42-14.
Dave Krause was down there.
Was he?
His son Eric Krause, the former outstanding PH Patriot, coaches at Olentangy Orange.
Oh, okay.
And one of my former players.
Well, they must be pretty darn good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
42-14.
That's big boy football down there.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Looking forward to maybe seeing Perrysburg in action because they're an intriguing team. I don't know that we thought they were going to be this season.
Nope, I didn't.
But boy, they've been impressive so far. How about Northview last night? 31-30 over Start. Snapped a 15-game losing streak with that 1-point victory over Start, who is also 1-2. Rashawn Cooley racked up 105 yards and 2 scores rushing on 22 attempts to pace Northview. But congratulations, Barry Bach. Big confidence booster for that program to get a victory over Start.
Yep, tickled for Coach Bach. He's a class act. And again, like we were talking in the outset of the show, had to hold off a 2-point try by Start at the goal line, and they did. And the jubilation on the video I saw, Lynn, of Northview celebrating, you lose 15 straight. That feels pretty good. And, some validation for Coach Bach. I know it's only one week, but you preach to these kids, trust the plan, the process, and they prevailed, and I'm happy for them.
Home with Bowling Green this week. Feel like they can pick up another one here, Coach.
No, they absolutely can. And I would say on paper, 6.5 point favorite, I would say.
6.5?
Yeah, that's the line that I saw earlier this morning already for next week. So,
boy, you're checking the books, huh?
Yeah, I am. There's a couple dark sites that I have where you can see some high school lines, and that's 6.5. Now it may change, but 6.5. Northview
over BG.
Yep. Okay. Where's that game at, Lynn?
That game is at, I believe it's at Northview. It is home.
Okay.
Against Bowling Green next Friday night.
Okay. Well, hopefully the students and community get excited and a chance to win 2 in a row for Coach Bach. I love it.
Archibald trimmed Tenora last night, 35-27. Isaiah Gracia intercepted a Tenora pass late to send the Blue Streaks past the Rams for the 14th time and 14 tries. That game goes back to the early 1980s. The 0-3 Rams actually outgained Archibald 483-409. Archibald now 2-1 as they get prepared for NWAL play. Ryder Ryan, he averaged 11.5 yards per carry and had an 88-yard jaunt to power Archibald. He had 3 rushing touchdowns overall for the Streaks. Cooper Replogle had 201 yards rushing on 13 carries to lead the Tenora ground game, while Owen Farrell was 27 of 48, 257 yards and 4 scores. Josh Lieb caught 8 of those for 97 yards and a score, but Tenora put together a furious rally there in the final minutes to try to come back and was stopped by that interception late. But Tenora will head into GMC play at 0-3, but well tested.
Yeah, absolutely. And nothing but respect for Eric Becker and the Rams. What catches my eye, Lynn, Owen Farrell, 48 passing attempts. That's half a season for me coaching. And Josh Lieb, I mentioned earlier, he's one of the better receivers in this area. He's really good.
Yeah.
And, see if Archibald keeps it rolling. Can they be a contender in the NWAL? We think they'll contend, but can they contend with the Giant?
Yeah. Clay all over BG, 49-3 last night at home. Lyndon Eckleberry fired 2 touchdowns to Jimmy Dewar and ran for another one as Clay won for the second straight week. Brody Ostrander and Max Morrison also caught touchdowns from the sophomore quarterback. Clay showing that they have some explosion. They lost one of their linemen I know for the season. I saw here this past week. The Rom kid is out for the year for them.
For Clay,
which is a big loss as they move forward in the bigger school Buckeye division. And boy, Bowling Green, it's been a rough go here to start the season for the Bobcats.
Yeah, Lynn, and looking at their schedule here, which I'm going to assume that's where you were going to, but I see maybe a win, depending on how banged up Southview is week 9. But I see one win potentially hanging out there for the Bobcats. They needed to get Brian in week 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's one they had to get.
Yeah.
And again, opening up with Perrysburg is that's a tall task. So I don't know what their freshmen, sophomores look like coming up there at BG, but going to be tough sledding this year.
No doubt about it. Anthony Wayne, 7-0 victory over Napoleon at the Buck last night. Jerry Brown says the Brown brothers witnessed a defensive battle at Napoleon. Anthony Wayne band was worth the price of admission. Well said, Jerry. The Anthony Wayne band is, if you've never seen them, they are impressive. They're like a college band. But the Generals moved to 2-1, ninth straight win over Napoleon, who is now 1-2. AW had a 288 to 184 edge in total yards. They had quite a few yards for only scoring 7 points. Scored only points of the game on a Porter Brungard to Cameron Miller 38-yard touchdown pass with 5:38 left. Napoleon lost a fumble inside the Generals, just inside the 5, it looked like on the video in the third quarter, which was caused and recovered by Cam Miller. Roman Morrison churned out 140 yards on 32 carries for Anthony Wayne, while Miller totaled 100 yards on 4 catches. But boy, Cam Miller, big night for him, scored the touchdown and really saved the game with that caught up to the Napoleon runner and ripped it out and then recovered it.
Couple things. Number one, the Anthony Wayne band. They're unbelievable. And we talk about football numbers. Band numbers have gone down. I see bands now that have 20 kids now that used to have 105, but they're really good. My son was at that game last night. He said that Roman Morrison is a bad dude, and his dad is Steve Morrison, former coach at BGSU, linebacker at Michigan, played in the NFL. He's now coordinating Andy Brungard's defense. Andy Brungard brings in star power, man. Had Bruce Gradkowski and Dirk Connor has Jerry Glanville hanging out with him, and Mike Ward calling his defense, and now Steve Morrison. So those guys they're no dummies, right? And so Roman Morrison, he's the real deal. Just heartbreaker for Napoleon. Kelby Parsons, I really, really like him at quarterback, and he can run. And on that fumble where he got stripped, he about made a house call, and give Anthony Wayne credit. That says more about them than anything else. And just a tough one for the Wildcats, but kind of, I think, is a nice barometer for where they're at. And I think that tells us they're going to compete in the Cardinal division.
No doubt about it. Fairview, no problem with Bryan, 47-7. The Apaches had 503 yards and routed the Golden Bears. William Zedike, 21-30, 348 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. Logan Olinger, 7 catches, 116 yards. Gavin Meade, 3 catches, 68 yards. Gavin Garza, 4 catches, 51 yards. And Shady Fritch had 1 catch for 38 yards. All of those guys had receiving scores. Olinger, Meade, Garza, and Fritch. Olinger also had a rushing touchdown, while Steven Mendez also scored a rushing touchdown.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you. Did you get this figured out? Okay.
You can blame one of the coffee club members. You can figure out which one it was that knocked us off the air right before we were coming on. That was the issue.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
The great Tracy Army. Tori's sister just brought us some chocolate chip cookies.
Look at those.
Are those fresh out of the oven? Probably.
Yeah.
I have chocolate everywhere now.
Those look good.
I'm gonna have one of these. I can't resist.
I'll talk for a minute here while you enjoy that,
but I'm gonna need a napkin.
Are they still warm?
No, but they had to just come out of the oven because I'm gonna fill my coffee cup. We're gonna have to just take a break here. We're just gonna have to take a break.
We'll be right back.
Who says a college degree is the only path to a fulfilling career? At the Gherkin Companies, we offer rewarding livelihoods with or without a degree. Gherkin provides a generous benefits package, continuous training, top-notch equipment, and a culture that rewards effort. We're looking for rock-solid performers to help build and reinforce the region's infrastructure. Whether you have construction experience or are just starting your career, apply now at gherkincompanies.com/careers.
Stop by the Sports Place at Wassee on Ace for all your back-to-school shoes and fall sports shoes. We have Under Armour shoes in stock for youth through adults. The Sports Place will keep you and your family in style without breaking your wallet. Also, the Sports Place at Wassee on Ace is your new headquarters for sporting goods in Northwest Ohio. Stop in to see our selection of equipment, practice apparel, Letterman's jackets, and much, much more. Plus, we offer custom-made t-shirts, embroidery, and other apparel in one convenient location. Visit us at 1495 North Shoup Avenue in Wassee. The Swanton Welding Company proudly supports our local student athletes and coaches. We're committed to being your local steel fabrication company in Northwest Ohio and building projects across the country. For job opportunities at the Swanton Welding Company, visit www.swantonweld.com or visit them at 407 Zider Way in Swanton. Welcome back to Rise and Rewind here on Saturday morning at American Freedom Energy. Tory's sister just walked in with a whole plate of chocolate chip cookies, and boy, they had to have come just out of the oven because the chocolate is melting, and now I have it everywhere. But I'm going to eat these on the air.
She was disheartened last night, Lynn, that we didn't stop by.
Oh, she wanted us to stop.
My wife says, you better bring me one of those cookies.
We'll
get you one, Cinda.
Cinda, I don't know they're going to last.
Yeah, my sister was disheartened last night, Lynn, because we didn't stop out after the game. And then we had already gotten home, and she texted me, are you guys stopping? And I was already home and sitting down. My son was home for the evening, and I go, I'm not even going to reply. The fact that we're not there tells her we're not going to be there. And she wasn't happy with that non-response.
Oh.
And so then I had to let her have it a little bit. And I think this was a peace offer.
I was wondering if it was.
I think it was.
Okay.
She doesn't want to get on my bad side.
Oh, well, thank you, Tracy, for bringing those in this morning. That's greatly appreciated.
Yeah. Very nice, Trace. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great. I do want to say, Fairview, when they have it rolling like this, how much fun are they? Video game type numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Will Zedike is awesome. They're going to be a tough out, man. They're going to be a tough out. If you're playing Fairview, you want to catch them on a cold, rainy,
windy
night.
Yeah.
Was it the Paulding Fairview game a year or two ago?
That was that when the hurricane was rolling through.
Yeah.
Little remnants of that.
Gale force winds that day.
Yeah. They still pulled that one out. We'll see if we get any of those kind of Friday nights this season as we get into the hurricane season.
Yeah, so I'm curious. Brian's a program also, Lynn. I'll just say that curious to see that building process with Scott Staten, because he's an outstanding football coach, and I hope the community embraces him and that, because if they do, and I'm sure they will, but if they do, they're going to reap the benefits. They're going to have a physical blue-collar football program that town's going to be proud of.
Right. Game we were at last night on our game cast at Rex Lundgren Stadium, Kip Kern Field, Liberty Center 40 at Seago. Nothing. It was 7-0 after that first quarter, and kind of went how Seago wanted. They had a few nice rushes mixed in there. It was 7-0, and then bam, 33 straight from Liberty Center in that second quarter, including a 98-yard Jackson Lonzak touchdown catch from Caden Kreinbrink. And the route was on from there, and Liberty poured on 33 in that second quarter. They ran for 285, led by 99 yards and 3 scores from Garrison Cruz, who scored on 3 trips to the end zone, as I said. Caden Kreinbrink, 4 of 6, 112 yards. Thomas Moeller also had a rushing touchdown, and Baxter Barrett did as well in that one. At Seago, they did have 147 yards rushing in that one, but just not nearly enough. Max Walker, 10 tackles to lead the LC defense, which now has 2 shutouts early on in the season. But boy, How many yards could Garrison Cruz run for if he got 25, 30 carries a game? Would he run for 3,000?
Yes. He would average, if he got 30 carries a game, he'd probably average 250. That may be even conservative. Troy Westoven back in the day, he was a bell cow. We got to see him last night.
Yeah.
He would carry it 25, 30 times a game.
40 times a game.
Yes. And, but, Liberty has the luxury of spreading it around a little more. But, and I like that, how Casey Muller manages that. But Max Walker, it's funny. Such a nice young man. He was on our kickoff show and that. But they say when he puts the helmet on and gets between the lines, he's nasty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you wouldn't know it talking to him.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't.
Pleasant young man to talk to.
Yeah.
The only way you can avoid a running clock on Liberty Center, okay, Seagull had the recipe. You've got to bleed the clock. Now, you need to make a few more first downs than they did. You can't turn it over, and then you cannot give up the big play. If you do all three of those things, then you might only get beat 28-0, 35-0, maybe 7 if you're lucky to get one. If you turn it over a time or two and or give up a couple big plays, you're going to be running clocked at halftime. And that's the bottom line. You better protect the football and do damage control. And sometimes when you're playing Liberty Center, it is damage control.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's somebody listening right now going, oh, we play to win. We play to win. Well, I get that. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I hear you. 98-yard scoring strike. We were discussing if that was the longest pass play in Liberty Center history. You can only go one more yard. You can only be 99. Don't know if that has happened. You mentioned Jeff Jurassic's
to
Rob Sexton.
Yeah, I'll be curious to hear that. I know in Napoleon's record book, I want to say it's like 99.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can only go one more yard.
Yeah.
And all it was kind of like a little outcut by Lonizak. It wasn't some deep seam route or some fade route. It was just a little 5-yard out, almost a flat route. He caught with his hands, turned it up the sideline. And we talk about Garrison Cruz and these guys. Jackson Lonizak is a specimen.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a thick kid and he can run.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, if Jeff or Rob are watching, let us know if it was 99 your connection back in the day.
Yeah, I think I'll be curious. I have the book that Caleb Pullman referenced last night.
Yeah,
it's a Liberty Center history book. I wouldn't be surprised if you have it, but this thing is like this thick.
Oh wow!
And the most obscure every stat ever.
Really?
Yeah,
really.
It's impressive. It's impressive. I'll have to maybe bring it out Monday. If I remember, I know I have it. So
yeah, if you would, maybe we can find out. And I didn't feel so bad about the beating I take from Coach Lindgren anymore, because last night he was up in the press box. He sees Troy Westoven, who was, the dude had run for 2,500 yards a season because he'd give him the ball 175 times a game.
Yep.
And Rex calls him soft.
Yep.
He's calling Troy Westoven soft.
Yep. So Rex said to Troy Westoven at halftime, he said, this Cruz kid is probably the best fullback we've ever had here, because Troy was a fullback.
Yeah.
And Troy said, I would agree. Troy's a humble guy if you know him. And Rex said something about the number of carries or whatever. And Troy goes, I wish you'd have given me the ball 30 times against Montpelier, And Rex goes, I wanted to, but you were scared. You said, Coach, they're hitting me too hard. In typical Rex fashion, if you know him, you can picture it.
Yep.
And so no one is immune.
No.
To the wrath of Coach Lindgren.
No, they are not. Even the all-time greats here at Liberty Center. Evergreen, they got down 14-0 in the first quarter, but came back and completed a perfect non-conference season with a 38-28 victory over Lake last night. Bryce Bolger, who I know you are high on, 15-21 through the air, 214 yards. He had Quentin Eisel and Will Wrights on scoring strikes. Bolger also added 87 yards rushing, and he sealed the triumph by returning an interception, 55 yards for a touchdown in that one. Julian Rodriguez powered Lake, 144 yards on 31 carries as the Flyers fell to 0-3, and Evergreen moves to 3-0, and another nice start to the season for the Vikings under Hunter Coles in place of Barry Bach, who left in the offseason.
Yeah, I think the question is Evergreen built to compete and contend with the big boys? We'll see. Any of our listeners out there, I was curious when I was reading your recap this morning, Lynn, Quentin Eisel for Evergreen. There was a great running back from Delta. Lance Eisel.
Lance, yes.
Curious if there's a connection there.
Yeah, I think they have like a two-headed monster in that backfield with Lance that year.
Boy, Lance Eisel was a bell cow. I remember him well.
Late 90s, was it?
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah. I might have been coaching at PH at that time. It was after I graduated, I know. But I remember him well. Curious if there's a connection there. You know, Fulton County could be.
Yeah.
But love Bryce Bolger. If you have a trigger man like that, you have a chance. And congrats to Evergreen, 3-0 start after a coaching change, too.
Yeah. Edgerton, 29, Montpelier, 28, as Matthew Clark mentioned. Stopped Montpelier's 2-point try in the waning seconds to preserve that 1-point victory last night as Edgerton picks up the victory.
Yeah, and every game's not going to be a masterpiece, you know, and there's, you know, probably people going, I can't believe Edgerton only beat Montpelier 29-28. Well, number one, give Montpelier credit. They've got some really good seniors. And number two, every game is different. You know, every game unfolds different. There's no script. So you're going to have games like this. And the good teams are able to persevere. And Coach Flegel, great leader of young men, and no surprise.
Trying to find some stats here for you. The stats came in a little bit after I went to bed last night from Edgerton. Caden Sinclair had a rushing touchdown. Carter Gibson had a receiving touchdown. Kellen Sanchez had 2 receiving touchdowns. Maddox Baker threw for 3 touchdowns in that victory last night. See if I can find some other notable stats here for you. 133 yards receiving from Sanchez in that one as well, as the Edgerton offense has been outstanding this season so far.
Yeah, they have. I want to take a look at Edgerton, where they're at coming up. Sitting pretty good in their region right now. I know it's early, but Antwerp this week, and then Wayne Trace and Ayersville. So a chance to be 5-0, 2, 3, chance to be 6-0 when they host Paulding. When they host Paulding, they could be 6-0.
Okay, wow. Could be a big game, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Big night from Braxton Leith again for Convoy Crestview 40-21 over Wayne Trace. Leith carried 13 times, 231 yards, 4 touchdowns. Hayden Parrott caught a touchdown pass and returned a kickoff for a TD as well to help Crestview move to 2-1. Carter Baumley had a big night for the Raiders, 130 yards, rushing on 26 carries. But boy, that's a heck of an average for Leith in that one after he went up against that Marion local defense a week ago.
Yeah, he must be really good. He must be really good. I'd love to see some film on him. And then the Raiders have a tough 2-week stretch here. They've got Paulding and then Edgerton. So they're trying to turn the tide. They played in a lot of close games over the years, I'll tell you that.
0-3 to start the season in the non-conference are the Raiders. Eden went to Hicksville and picked up a 21-6 victory last night. Kendall Briggle hauled in 8 passes, 119 yards. As the Bombers moved to 2-1, they limited Hicksville to 172 yards. Colin Lovell had 72 rushing and the lone TD for the Aces, who are now 1-2 on the season.
Yep. This is, I think, what we expected would happen. Maybe not as convincing as maybe some thought on paper. So hopefully Hicksville's closing the gap there, but Eden takes care of business.
St. Francis 30-24 over Sandusky Perkins last night. Eli Beal ran for 141 yards and a score while also adding a receiving touchdown as the Knights knocked off the Division IV state runner-up from a year ago. The Knights now 2-1, 221 yards rushing overall, and held Perkins, who is 1-2 to 31 yards rushing on 22 attempts and 155 yards passing. This Perkins team, we saw them scrimmage Liberty Center, and they, for all intensive purposes, kind of controlled that scrimmage that night. I know Liberty was, working on some passing things and not sure how serious like any coach takes a scrimmage, but Perkins looked the part, and that's a nice win for St. Francis as they've tested themselves here in the non-conference the last 2 weeks. Went to Bishop Dwenger a week ago and lost that one, but rebound with a win over Perkins last night.
Yeah, that's one. You'll take it any way you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big program win and a feather in Josh Linke's cap and his kids. That's just a big win for your program against a team that's always good. So,
and tough and physical.
Absolutely.
Yeah. St. Francis home with Clyde at the Glass Bowl next week. Home with St. John's Jesuit at U of D Jesuit Michigan in a few weeks. U of D Jesuit 0-2. Lumen Christi is 1-1. They're home with them. Dearborn Divine Child, they're home with them on October 10th. Divine Child is 2-0, and then they go to Central Catholic on October 17th. They can't drop any more if the Knights want to see us on Cherry Street on October 17th.
And I hope they don't drop anymore.
They should be fine the next 3 weeks. Going to be probably pretty big favorites. Now, can Joe Horn and the Titans in a couple weeks pull a little bit of an upset? I would say.
Yeah, I would say I would give St. John's a chance in that one. I really would. Talk about a program win that can propel you.
Mm-hmm.
That would be that for Joe Horn. But I hope St. Francis rolls because I'd like to be on Cherry Street for that one, Lynn. I would.
Would you? Yeah,
I would.
Well, the season's rolling along. We're already into week 4 coming up here next week, Coach. Almost halfway through it already. 2 weeks we will be. It goes so darn quick every year.
Mm-hmm.
Delta 49-28 over Gibsonburg. Pretty dominant victory for Mike Vickers and his Panthers. Marcus Nagel had a hand in 5 touchdowns, and Delta coasted over previous unbeaten Gibsonburg as the Gibsonburg club is now 2-1. Nagel ripped off scoring jaunts of 13, 8, 37, and 56 yards. He also threw a 36-yard touchdown to Alex York, and Nagel also had an interception last night in that victory. He missed the first week with an injury, but he is back, and he is a force for that Delta program.
Yeah, he's kind of like a Swiss Army knife, isn't he?
Yeah.
That kid, he can do it all. I'm tickled to get to watch them.
Yeah, we'll have Archbold at Dell the next Friday night on our Gamecast.
Excited for that. And Delta Gibsonburg on paper, heavyweight matchup, two power football teams. But I will almost always, Lynn, all things being equal, take an NWAL football team over most other conferences if things are fairly even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did a nice job. I think Grant Smith had over 100 yards for Gibsonburg last night, but didn't go crazy, which he can do if you're not up to the task against a running back like Grant Smith. But Delta, nice win, heads into NWL play with a key one to start off the league slate next week against Archbold. That's a big one, not just in the league, but for computer points.
Yeah, it is, and Delta lost one to Archbold last year, Lynn, that they felt like they let get away.
Yes.
They
give up a bunch of points in the last 2-3 minutes.
Last thing I'll say, side note with Mike Vickers, I would love to see a statistic because it hasn't. You could count on one hand. The number of times a Mike Vickers coach team has lost a game to a team they probably should beat. It isn't very often because you're not going to out scheme him. You're not going to out prepare him. You're not going to out coach him during the game with adjustments and that. And they always seem to win. Whoever Mike Vickers is coaching always seem to win the games that you think they should. Very seldom do they trip up. It takes a Liberty. It takes a PH and teams like that.
Yeah. Yep. No doubt about it. Genoa with a 42-32 victory at Huron last night. Luke Clements, 25 carries for 159 yards. And 3 touchdowns helped the Comets get the road win over the 1-2 Tigers. Miles Mollenauer and Alex Materney added touchdown runs, and Mollenauer also threw for 171 yards in the Genoa victory there. And they'll get into NBC play and see where the Comets stand with Bill Fisher at the helm as they get into conference play next week.
Yeah, they're going to be they're a player in the NBC. There's no question about that. That's a big road win.
Yeah.
Huron's got a ton of tradition, Lynn.
Yes, they do.
And if Bill Fisher weren't a head football coach, he would be a comedian. That guy is funny.
Yes.
I went to a clinic at Bucyrus High School with him one time. And it was him, me, and Denny Phillips, the old secondary coach at Bluffton College. And Bill Fisher had me in stitches, man. I'll have to tell you off the air some of the things he said.
Okay, that's got to be off the air, huh?
It does, because a couple things are ingrained in my head, and I'll never forget them.
I've heard that about him. I've heard he's a funny guy.
I bet the kids love playing for him.
Staying in the NBC, Eastwood played another NWL foe last night, 35-13 over Wauseon. Eagles pulled away from the winless Indians with a 21-0 advantage in the second half. Braden Ludhart had one rushing score, also threw for 201 yards on 20 of 26 passing and touchdowns to Cam Shoemaker, who was back. He did not play a week ago against Liberty Center, and Edmund Opfer, who had 8 catches for 75 yards. Braden Brown chipped in 99 yards rushing for Eastwood and a touchdown. And the Eagles bounced back from that loss to Liberty Center a week ago. What I'm hearing from the Liberty Center guys was Braden Ludhart looks really good for a sophomore. So they have another really nice Ludhart that's going to run the program the next couple of years.
Must be the season for sophomore sensations. Yeah. You think of Eckleberry at Clay and Ludhart here, and we saw a good one last night for Otsego.
Otsego has several sophomores. They have that outstanding 10th grade class.
Yeah, and Porter Brungard at Anthony Wayne. A lot of really good sophomores.
I feel like we're missing a few more that are sophomores.
I think we are. And Eastwood, I just said what I said about Delta. Eastwood is a program, regardless of who's coaching them, that seldom loses a game.
Yeah.
That on paper,
you're right there too. Yeah, Craig Rutherford and Jerry Rutherford in the past, and now Sam Cotterman.
Yeah,
really good trio of coaches that they've had there, Eastwood, since the early 80s. How about North Baltimore? Last couple years, they have been shellacked by Marion Elgin, 34-0 and 59-0 the last 2 years. But the Orange and Black flipped the script to open NWCC play last night, 47-6. Believe this is the first time they're 3-0 since 1994 is North Baltimore. They went 10-0 that season in the regular season. Luke Long threw for 359 yards and connected with Cooper Clark. 210 yards from Cooper on 6 catches last night for Cooper Clark. But Greg Bishop has returned to North Baltimore, and he's got that town believing right now, 47-6 over Marion Elgin, and they're 3-0. First time in a long time, over 30 years.
I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
I'm happy for him. What's most impressive to me is you talk about their scores against Elgin the last couple of years, 34-0, 59-0, didn't even score a point. They turned the tables in very short order. That's impressive, and I'm here for it. I think it's great. I love seeing the football program arouse a community like that, and the Tigers deserve it. The Fighting Tigers deserve it.
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing what North Baltimore can do here the final 7 weeks of the season. Their kids were impressive when they came to our kickoff show a few weeks ago. Let's move it over to the MAC coach. Going to get to the Marion local St. Henry recap here in a minute, but Coldwater 28, Fort Recovery 14. The Cavaliers now 2-1, 1-0 in the MAC, moved to 26-0 all time against Fort Recovery. Carson Holman ran for 141 yards while throwing for 100 yards and 2 scores on 8 of 10 completions, orchestrating a Coldwater offense that had 359 yards overall, 259 rushing. Braxton Taylor chipped in 118 yards rushing and 2 scores. Caleb Stroyer and Caden Obringer both had receiving scores for the Cavaliers. Alex Garkey's 77 yards rushing and a score led the night for Fort Recovery, but maybe says a lot about Fort Recovery and what West Winning is doing there. 28-14. This is not the score that you're normally accustomed to seeing in this matchup.
Nope, not at all. And you took the words out of my mouth. I think this bodes well for Fort Recovery going forward. Anytime you trade punches with Coldwater like that, it says something about where your program's trending. And doesn't get any easier for Fort Recovery, Lynn. They host St. Henry this week. So it's, boy, just so many heavyweights in that league. Doggone. Battle of attrition.
Yeah. Tiger Ball for Sales rolled over Delphus St. John's 35-0 in Delphus last night. Tigers Gaish, the Blue Jays, who are now 0-3, 0-1 in the MAC for 286 yards or 266 yards rushing on 30 attempts. Landon Napke carried 14 times, 135 yards and 2 scores. And Noah Hayes also had 2 rushing touchdowns, and that one is the 8th consecutive win for Versailles over Delphus St. John's.
Yeah, what can you say? Versailles, there's tradition for you. And Versailles will lock horns with another 3-0 team this week, New Bremen.
Okay, that'll be a good one in the MAC.
Yeah, well.
Minster picked up a 24-14 victory over Anna. The Wildcats now 2-1, 1-0 in the MAC, scored 10 points in the final stanza to get past unbeaten Anna, who came in rolling. The Rockets were looking really good. Minster was unable to get the running game going with 92 yards on 32 attempts, but threw for 196 and played really good defense. Carson Kaler hit on 16 of 29 passes, 196 yards, including 10 of them to Tyler Bergman, who had 110 yards and a score. Kaler also ran for 78 yards in the other 2 Minster touchdowns. Anna was limited to 215 yards of total offense on 51 snaps, so just about 4 yards per play was all that Minster allowed a night ago in that matchup with Anna.
Absolutely. And one thing you learn when you follow the MAC conference, Lynn, is you can't read too much into one game. And so after Columbus Afrocentric kind of handled Minster last week, I thought, Minster had too many graduation losses. Anna's going to come in and push them around. But again, it's a week-to-week proposition in the MAC conference, and those coaches are so good down there that they fix what needs to be fixed, and Minster got it done. Shouldn't be surprised at all.
No doubt about that. Marion Local 21, St. Henry 14. The Flyers kept the state's longest winning streak going at 61 with the come from behind victory at St. Henry. Sophomore quarterback Brennan Hess hit Cale Nagel for a 35-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter to give Marion Local its first lead of the night at 21-14. The Redskins actually jumped out to a quick 7-0 edge less than a minute into the game on a pick six from Jack Hulsman on the second play of the game. Marion Local then tied it on a Ben Meyer 2-yard run in the second stanza before St. Henry quarterback Charlie Whirling broke loose for a 69-yard touchdown jaunt. Hulsman picked off another pass a bit later at the Marion Local 38. The Redskins got to the Marion Local 1, but were turned away on the final play of the first half on 4th and goal. Max Rainley interception led to a Hess to Braden Mercer 5-yard touchdown connection after the interception for Marion Local. It was Marion Local's first one-possession victory since a 14-13 win over Versailles in week 6 of the 2023 season.
Yeah, give Marion Local credit for showing resolve there and hanging on. Sounds like St. Henry had their chances, Lynn, and realized they were knocking on the door. Yeah.
Well, you score 14, but 7 of those were from your defense.
Yep. Shows
how hard it is to score on this Marion Local defense. You get one touchdown. Minster got one against them in the 2 games a year ago. That was it. You can get maybe a couple touchdowns on them, but very rarely do they give up more than a touchdown on defense.
No, I agree. And I would like to see the clip of the pick 6 by St. Henry. I almost have a vision like they jumped.
It was a screen.
It was
a screen. It was a screen, yes.
Okay. I almost feel like you got to take some chances against Marion Local. Maybe, you risk getting beat by jumping a route, selling out. things like that, because it's hard to beat them in a conventional manner.
I want to see how many games. That was the 34th straight game that Marion Local held a foe under 20 points. 34 in a row. The next closest is Ursuline at 16. There's some issues going on with the Ursuline program. If you have not seen, their game last night got canceled.
Mm-hmm. I was going to text
I don't know a whole lot about it. I've heard some minor details, but have not dug into it.
I've gone down the rabbit hole, Lynn. I have gone down the rabbit hole.
Is that program going to get shut down?
Yes, they will not play. And again, I could be wrong, but based on what I'm seeing, they will not play another game this year. And when the dominoes fall, it's going to be ugly. And I'm not talking just in the football program. I'm talking throughout.
Administrators that are going to get
from the top down, buddy. And that is unbelievable. And what's crazy, week 1, they spanked Steubenville. Week 2, they spanked Columbus Bishop Hartley.
Oh, they knocked off Reno Sackhatch in Steubenville week 1?
Didn't just knock them off. They took them out behind the woodshed and pounded them, yes. And so state championship type pedigree for Ursuline this year. And all that is null and void because of some things that allegedly, but there's documentation, there's videos, there's photos.
It was on TikTok, I believe, from what I've heard.
And shared. And but this goes back to the summer months.
Yeah.
With some
June or July, right? It was a 7-on-7 or
that is correct. And they were staying in a hotel.
Be some federal charges.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you cross state lines with that stuff. The docket is 222 pages, and I read about the first
222?
222. And I read about the first 12, honestly. I did. And I'm like, I don't have time for this. And so there's a lot to unpack there. Again, the alleged the defendants will get their day, and they deserve that. But if what's alleged proves to be true, the Youngstown Ursuline program and school is in some irreparable damage territory.
Wow. Looking at a fantastic 50 streaks. Delta broke Gibsonburg's streak of holding foes under 20 points last night. Gibsonburg came in holding foes under 20 points 10 straight games.
Oh,
so Delta snapped that last night. And that was the first time in 7 games that Marion Local allowed over 10 points. They had 6 straight games where they held foes under 10 points.
Huh. I said it a minute ago. I'm going to say it again. I'm looking forward to seeing Delta on Friday.
Yeah.
I really am.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Other MAC game last night, New Bremen all over Parkway, 56-14. Don't have any stats or details to share with you, but New Bremen had no problem moving to 3-0 and knocking off Parkway 56-14. Blanchard Valley Conference, we mentioned this earlier on in the show. Liberty Benton led Macomb 52-0 at the half, ended up 52-9 as Macomb got a couple scores there in the second half. But the Eagles blitzed the Panthers with 35 in the first quarter, took that 52-0 lead into the half, and moved to 3-0 in the BVC opener. Liberty Benton has outscored its first 3 foes, 128-12. LB had 243 yards of total offense, just 243, and they put up 52. 163 were through the air as Seth Elkert caught 5 passes for 96 yards. 3 of the 5 were touchdowns. Connor Barbaro, the quarterback, he was 8 of 10, 152 yards. He also had a rushing touchdown, and Austin Collard found pay dirt on the ground. Barbaro had an interception on defense and returned it for a 32-yard touchdown. Seth Elkert, Reed Irwin, and Carson Griffin also had picks for that Liberty Benton secondary in that one. And Seth Elkert also scored on a punt return. So that was a little bit of the reason why they didn't have a ton of yards, a lot of interceptions, returned a punt for a touchdown as well. But boy, Liberty Benton is a complete team. And if they can stay healthy, be an interesting matchup with Liberty Center down the road.
Yeah, they remind me a little bit. I'll tell you what, Lynn, we gotta up our conditioning program here at Black Swamp. I've got a cramp in my left hammy, buddy.
I was wondering you were.
Oh, I'm trying to straighten my leg.
You need a break here?
No, I'm good. I'm going to stand for a second though, but I gotta up the stakes a little bit as far as my conditioning. Doggone it, man. Anyway, Liberty Benton reminds me a little bit of that Elmwood team Liberty Center ran into a couple years ago. And a lot of the Oak Harbor team, I think you mentioned this a week ago, of the Oak Harbor team they ran into last year. If anyone locally, I'm not talking Northeast Ohio deep in the tournament, I'm talking locally, if anybody can lock horns with Liberty Center, Liberty Benton probably has the best chance because of the way their roster is built.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Big up front. I think they can hold their own against that Liberty front. And then they have the skill. Seth Elkert will be the fastest kid on the field.
Yep, he will.
And then his brother Zach there in the backfield. And if they can stay healthy, they don't have the depth that Liberty has. If they can keep everybody healthy here in 2-3 months, that'll be a great game to watch there in Region 18. Also in the BVC last night, Pandora Gilboa 42, Van Buren 7. Rockets rolled in the conference opener behind 140 yards from Ben Burkholder. Boy, he is a special athlete. PG 2-1 overall, now 1-0 in the BVC. They had 325 yards overall. Lipsick was a 30-14 victor over Elmwood. Lipsick now 3-0 and 1-0 in the conference. Sent the Royals to their 15th consecutive loss. Avery Paris 10 catches, 112 yards, and 2 scores from Mark Kirkendall, who was 22 of 39, 231 yards and 3 TDs. Marcus Williams also ran for 98 yards and a score for Lipsick. Braxton Simon threw for 255 yards in the loss, while Mitchell Oliver 11 catches for 104 yards for the Royals. That rounds out the BVC slate from a night ago that we covered.
Mark Kirkendall, I mean, he's going to put a dent in those record books. They had a quarterback that was prolific several years back, went on to play at Gannon University, Liam Nodler, who essentially rewrote all the records, which were held by Nick Kreinbrink back when they were really good in the mid-90s. But Mark Kirkendall putting his stamp on things. I'd love to see him play. See some film on him, but as I said last week, Lipsick, they play it close to the vest. You don't see a bunch of hoopla on social media.
No, you're right
with their program. Yeah. So congrats to Coach Kirkendall.
Lipsick defense, they're giving up quite a few yards. They've given up the most yards in the Blanchard Valley Conference through the first 2 weeks. Gave up a lot of passing yards a night ago against that Elmwood team. That may be what gets them in a game with a Liberty Benton.
Yeah, it'll definitely get them against a Liberty Benton. And the BVC is one of those leagues, and I suppose you can say this about most leagues, Lynn, but the gap between the haves and the have-nots is significant between your upper teams and lower teams in that league.
No doubt about it. Catholic High School League last night, as we mentioned, over on Cherry Street in Toledo, Detroit Catholic Central picks up a 27-14 victory over Greg Dempsey's Fighting Irish. Shamrocks knocked off the Irish for the second straight year, and now in the driver's seat as far as the top division in the CHSL is considered. Central Catholic is 0-3 for the first time, and as far back as I could look, first time they've been 0-3.
Yeah, I saw in your write-up you said in the playoff era.
Yeah, back to 72. That's as far back as I could get. Rare territory for Central Catholic right now.
Yeah, in Division III, Region 10, they're one of 9 teams that are 0-3, and you don't see that very often.
No.
It ain't going to be like that for much longer, but boy, talk about tough schedules to start. Good Lord.
Challenge themselves. They'll be ready for the Division III playoffs.
Oh, man. Yeah, you don't want no part of the Irish.
Let's move it to the Western Buckeye League, Coach, to recap week number 3 to finish out this week's show. Lima Bath went to Eggers Stadium and picked up a 35-28 victory over the Cougars. The Wildcats captured a victory of unbeatens despite being outgained 355 to 286. Zach Welsh, 18 of 22 passing to pace Bath, who was now 3-0, 2-0 in the Western Buckeye League. Welsh had 169 yards and 2 scores throwing. Xavier Kelly tallied 138 yards rushing and 1 score on 21 carries to lead Van Wert in their first loss of the season. Our good friend Jeff Schliessman was down at that game, and he said Xavier Kelly is a jitterbug. He's really good.
Yeah, Jeff Schliessman. Wonder where he'll be this week, Lynn. Tickled to see what Lima Bath is doing. It's just crazy the impact a coach can have on changing the culture of a program. And Frank Russell has done that. And Egger Stadium in Van Wert, that's no easy task going in there, getting a win any year. And so this tells me Lima Bath's built for the long haul.
For sure. St. Mary's 42, Salina 14. The Rough Riders averaged 7.3 yards per rush on 54 attempts and earned their first win of the season while keeping Salina winless. The Bulldogs now 0-3, 0-2 in the Western Buckeye League. Caleb Schmidt had an 80-yard run and 293 yards overall on 27 lugs. He had 6 touchdowns as St. Mary's picked up their first win of the season, 1-2 overall, and now 1-1 in the Western Buckeye League. Salina mustered only 36 yards on 21 rushes and threw for 196, but St. Mary's dominated that one.
You know what's tough about picking our games like we do on our podcast is with St. Mary's, it's a matter of time before the lid blows off and they explode. And that happened last night.
Yes, it did. Kenton Boyd, they piled up a bunch of yards in a 38-27 victory at home over Ottawa Glandorf. Kenton, 615 yards of offense, 485 through the air to earn their first one of the season. Freshman Xavier Gammon, 35 of 45 passing, 507 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air. He added 105 yards rushing and another one, Zane Perkins. Did you see his numbers? 17 catches for Zane Perkins, 216 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was probably the performance of the night between those two, Gammon and Perkins, in that Kenton victory. Asher Rump led OG, now winless, with 117 yards rushing and a score.
I wonder how many of those Perkins receptions, I'm just asking, I'm not insinuating anything, because I've seen Van Wert do this with their offense. How many of those Zane Perkins catches were at or behind the line of scrimmage, like slip screens, jailbreaks, bubbles, things like that? Because if he caught the ball downfield 17 times, that is unbelievable. And those offensive numbers look like Mike Mock type numbers.
Yeah, that was a weekly thing for Mike Mock and his crew, 600 yards, and they put up 50, 60 on you. Wow.
Doesn't get any easier for the Ottawa Glandorf Titans, Lynn. Wapakoneta comes calling this week.
Yeah, it's been a tough start for OG. Now they've played some toughies here the first few weeks and tested themselves in the non-conference against Liberty Benton. Fell to Defiance in a tight one a week ago, and then, Kenton just unloaded a night ago. Speaking of Wapakoneta, 31-7 victory at Fred J. Brown Stadium at Defiance last night. Pushed their Western Buckeye League winning streak to 19 straight. They had not lost a WBL game since losing at Defiance a couple years ago. Caleb Moyer, he was efficient again. He completes much of his passes, 13 of 15, 221 yards. 4 of those to Caden Page, who was headed to Ohio. Page had 141 yards. Page caught touchdowns of 57 and 62. Defiance suffered their first loss, 2-1, 1-1 in the Western Buckeye League. They were limited to 205 yards of offense. Kelton Gibbs led that rushing attack with 92. Not much of a surprise there. We figured Walpock would roll into Defiance and be able to control that matchup, and no shock there is in what Coach Moyer's crew did.
No, the only thing I'll add, Caden Page averaging, that breaks down to about 35 yards a grab, right?
Yeah.
4 catches. Yeah. He's the real deal. He's fun to watch. Out of that same mold as Elkert at Liberty Benton. That's elite company. But, it was going to take a near perfect effort from Defiance at home. They've been living on the edge the last 2 weeks against Napoleon and Ottawa Glandorf, and so Wapakoneta took care of business.
Also in the Western Buckeye League last night, Shawnee 13, Elida 10. Some other scores I don't have any stats on. North Central 12, Lima Perry 6. Congratulations to Tyler Owinski and The Eagles picking up their first win of the season. Maumee also got win number 1, 42-6 over Waite. No surprise there. Finley 28-7 over Springfield, and Orchard Lake St. Mary's Prep 42. St. John's 14. That game was close early on, if I remember from the scores we got a night ago, and Joe Horn and his crew just not able to keep it up. There's some games tonight. Antwerp is at Hilltop in a matchup of 0-2 teams. Paulding 2-0 goes to Delphus Jefferson. The Panthers will be heavy favorites in that one, and Delphus, and then 8-man action tonight. Danbury 2-0 is at Stryker.
I'd like to get one of these Saturday nights, Lynn, get back to an 8-man game.
Yeah.
Wherever it is. I enjoy watching that brand of football.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Coach. College football, the slate, not quite as good this week.
No, it pales. The one game, there's actually two I'm looking forward to. One, I know some people would say, why would you be looking forward to this? Just because of the rivalry and Iowa State. And that's at Iowa State.
Yeah.
And
is that at noon?
That is noon, one of many noon games. There's like 10 noon kickoffs today. And Iowa State coming off that big win. They played overseas, right? Was it Ireland?
Yeah, they did.
Against Kansas State.
Yeah. Yep, that is correct.
So looking forward to seeing that. Kirk Ferentz, the model of consistency. I know Iowa fans they complain about Kirk Ferentz, but it's like when Frank Solich got run out of Nebraska after Tom Osborne. They were never the same after that. So those of you that think Kirk Ferentz is too vanilla and blah, blah, blah.
But his offense is terrible.
It is terrible, but they play good defense.
But they don't beat anybody.
But they don't beat themselves. And so,
but what's the next step, though, for Iowa?
I'll tell you what the next step is. You get rid of Ferentz, or he'll leave on his own. We know that. But the next guy comes in, and then there's going to be a revolving door for about a dozen years. And you're going to say, God, I miss Kirk Ferentz being consistent. But that offense has been anemic, hasn't it?
It's hard to watch.
It is. I agree. But
if you're an Iowa fan, you're not going to want to watch that each week.
No, but it kind of goes with their culture.
Maybe you need to bring in a good OC and get a good quarterback. They've never had really an outstanding quarterback in my lifetime.
No, I would agree with that. The best they've had that I remember well is Chuck Long. We're going back to the 80s.
Yeah, that was, most of the people still watching weren't even born by then.
No, that's true.
BG is at Cincinnati today.
Yeah. Bowling Green, their roster, like so many, has turned over so much this year. They're going to need a lot more offense this week at Cincinnati. Now, what I liked about Bowling Green in their opener, they were just determined to run the football. And some people, maybe thought they should have opened it up a little bit. I love it. And I think that gives them their best chance. I think they're going to have their hands full today. And then Kent State, Lynn, starts a gauntlet of paycheck games. They've got Texas Tech this week, and their paycheck games, they have Texas Tech, and I couldn't remember this last week. They have Texas Tech, and then they have Buffalo, and then Florida State, who just beat Alabama, and then at Oklahoma on October 4th.
Oh.
Wow. And so they'll get over $1 million for all three of those games. And then, of course, you have Toledo and teams like that on the horizon.
Toledo's got Western Kentucky today coming to Glass Bowl. That's not an easy one, right?
No, one of the number one offenses in college football statistically. So Toledo's going to have their hands full. I think they win a close one if they can slow down Western's offense. And one I'm looking forward to, Lynn, I don't think if those people that like their betting apps, I don't think this one's on there, but the one I'm looking forward to, the Bluffton University Beavers are hosting Kenyon tonight at 7 o'clock, Dwight Salzman Stadium. I don't know if any ESPN channels are picking that up, but I'll be there.
Will you?
I will be there. Check out the 2025 edition of the Beavers under first-year head coach Chris Hedden.
Okay.
Looking forward to that.
Okay. What's on the menu today?
You know what?
Are you going to Luke's?
Well, we probably
down in Bluffton.
Yeah, it's a good place. Good place. Probably nothing before the game. We'll probably take Grant out after the game if he's able to get away. You never know. So those college head coaches are crazy sometimes. They may have him in the office till 1 a.m. after that, depending on how it goes. But I'll end up there at some point today. How about Michigan, Oklahoma? I about forgot about that till I
that's tonight, 7 or 7:30.
That'll be a hostile environment
Should
there.
be, yeah.
At Oklahoma. That program, Oklahoma, they need a couple big time wins because who is it? Brent Venables?
Yeah.
Yeah. He needs to kind of boost his resume a little bit, I think, in the eyes of Sooner fans.
You think so?
I do.
Okay.
I do, but I like Michigan's chances.
Okay.
I like Michigan's chances. I know they're probably underdogs.
4.5, 5.5, I think was the line I
No, you're right.
saw earlier in the week. I don't pay much attention, but
no, you're right. And I think Michigan not only covers, but I think they have a chance to win the game. Looking forward to seeing Underwood's progress. He's a like if you're creating a player and you make your quarterback look like that, people would say, "Come on, that's a tight end. Your quarterback doesn't look like that." He's the real deal.
Yeah, 6'4", 230 or something. Boy, he's something else.
Yeah.
See how he handles the pressure of playing in a hostile environment in Norman tonight. NFL kicks off tomorrow. We had was there a game last night? Chargers and Chiefs.
Chargers beat them.
Did they?
They were overseas.
See a final.
Yep, they were overseas.
That was in Spain or Brazil.
Brazil.
So, yeah,
I was kind of tickled. That the Chargers beat them, and I'm not a Chiefs hater because they're good. You know, people used to hate the Patriots because they're good and Belichick. Brady. I don't like people that are like that, and so I'm not a Chiefs hater. But I was tickled for the Chargers. You know, Mahomes, generational talent and that, but you know what? It is almost unfair how the field's slanted when you play him because he'll be running in the open field, cutting, slashing. He'll get near the sideline and maybe start to slow down. So you got to lay off, right? And then he'll cut back. And, you know, and then if you drill him, if you light him up, you're going to get penalized. Or he'll tightrope the sideline and you can barely I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
What do you think of Bill Belichick at North Carolina and Kalen DeBoer at Alabama after 1 week? Now, Alabama didn't have a great season a year ago in Alabama standards, but has the NIL initiative caught up to Bama? Because they were getting all those kids in the Nick Saban days. Now there are 40, 50 other schools that are getting those kids.
Leveled the playing field.
Not saying not.
No, I know.
I'm not saying anything here.
Yeah. But I'll say a couple things. Number one, I'm a Kalen DeBoer fan. I liked him at Washington,
North Dakota State.
Yes,
But is he in over his head there? Is he just not the right fit for an Alabama?
Yes, and the reason I think he's in over his head, he's not in over his head as far as football knowledge, scheme, things like that. He's in over his head because in order to maintain that level of excellence that Alabama had, you've got to have a little nasty in you. Just like Urban Meyer, anybody who knows him knows he's got kind of some rough edges. Nick Saban does. Kalen DeBoer's almost, dare I say, too nice. He's almost too nice. And reading about some of their stuff prior to that Florida State game from some boosters, who were in the team hotel. Now, this may or may not be true, but I tend to think there's some truth to it. The way the kids are, carrying on in the hotel at 1 a.m., ordering DoorDash after midnight, and just not a real whole lot of focus there. And, Nick Saban wasn't going to stand for that. So the Belichick thing, boy, they got sanded.
Boy,
by TCU.
You watched the pregame. You had Michael Jordan. You had Lawrence Taylor. You had Roy Williams, Mia Hamm. Missing somebody. There was another celebrity there too.
Yep. I was making notes of all those people.
Maybe another basketball guy.
Randy Moss was there.
Randy Moss, not from Marshall and playing in the NFL, but.
Yeah, and
boy, did TCU just roll into Chapel Hill, and the Tar Heel fans thought they had something with Bill Belichick, but
you know what, Lynn? I was thinking about this.
That's just I'm not certain of what's going on there, but it just seemed like a kind of a
PR hire.
PR, yeah, right.
Yeah. I feel like that about a couple other programs out there. I'm not even going to name them at this point. I'll tell you privately, but yeah. And here's what I was thinking during that game as they were getting ready to kick off. I was thinking, okay, are the officials. Like, is North Carolina going to get every single call because Bill Belichick's on the sideline? And what I kind of realized, A, that's not the case. And B, those kids that are playing, like for TCU, some of them are like, Bill Belichick, he coached with the Patriots. I mean, honestly, that's kind of out of sight, out of mind. I don't think they really care. And so his mystique, I don't know how much water that's going to hold.
Yeah, losing some mystique. Before we go, how are the Lions going to do this year?
I like their
record.
I like their blend of experience and youth. Think they have the best running back for my money in the NFL. Top 5 quarterback, maybe the best tackle in Penei Sewell. But on the road at Green Bay, you asked the record, 17 games now?
17
games. 11-6, 12-5.
They get to the Super Bowl. Do they do it?
No.
Nope. But you're a pessimist.
I am by nature. I am. I don't even like tomorrow's game, 4:00-ish kickoff at Lambeau. Jordan Love is.
Will you watch?
Oh boy, Lynn. I a lot of times don't like to watch the games of the teams I root for. I get so wound up and so stressed and so angry. I don't like the person it makes me. And I am not even embellishing there. A lot of times I will not watch the Lions or the Tigers on TV because I get so worked up, especially with the Lions. So I may watch the first quarter, and the first penalty they commit or turnover they make, I'll probably turn it off and then just check score updates for my own sanity.
Really?
And I mean that. I can't. 2 years ago, we went up on Thanksgiving Day. Me and Grant, Scott Army, and my dad went up on Thanksgiving Day. They hosted the Packers, and Jordan Love just shredded us. We got spanked, and I thought, why do I do this to myself? And then this past year, we went up on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
Had great seats, and the Lions won an absolute thriller.
I remember that. You were a zombie on our Friday night game cast.
That's right. That was a late. We rolled in about 1:30 a.m. and but too much commotion. I don't honestly like going to games in person anymore. Bluffton tonight will be my speed.
Yeah,
it'll be a little more laid back.
I'm gonna go home and went out with Coach Vickers this summer. My brother and I invited us out on his boat on Lake Erie, and we slayed some walleye. So I'm going to go home and have a little fish fry.
Are you?
Yeah. Coach Vickers, if you're watching, thank you for guiding us that day.
So today's the day, huh?
Well, I think I'm on my last pack. I had, 8 packages we went out in June, and they haven't lasted too long.
No, Andy's not joining you tonight, is he?
No, he's not. No, but he took his share. Well, my wife is gone today. She's in Cleveland visiting her sister. So hopefully she doesn't watch this because she's not going to be happy that this is the last pack of fish.
That's a good day. That's a good day, man. Yeah. College football and walleye fried up. I love it.
Yeah. Have a great weekend, everybody. Be back on Monday night with our podcast and also our KK Collision football show. We'll have members of 1993 Montpelier who got to the regional final, 1993 Liberty Center who fell in the state championship game, and also members of the Wauseon 1993 team. Corey Griggs, great quarterback for them, will be here live for that. Looking forward to visiting with those guys. And Wauseon won the state championship over Ironton.
Yep.
Colin Lane field goal as time expired to win that for the Indians.
That'll be a treat, Lynn.
Yeah.
And I've said this. It's the last thing I'll say, and I know we got to wrap it up. But we were playing Wauseon my senior year. Griggs and those guys were sophomores. We're at Wauseon. They're beating us at halftime because they were young and they were up and coming. And we're running off the field at halftime. And Griggs looks at me. He goes, "I thought you guys were supposed to be good." And I thought, you son of a gun, because he had some moxie.
He was only a sophomore.
And then we were down like 10 points.
Did you know him?
Knew him very well.
Okay.
I was 2 years older than him. I was a senior. He was a sophomore. But coming up through Little League and stuff, we had some good battles with Wauseon. And, because they had Chad Burton, those guys, playing baseball and that. And So they were always good. So I've known Corey for a long, long time. And actually, we were both very competitive, but we've always been very, very close friends, believe it or not. And I thought, I can't believe he just said that to me.
How'd that turn out for Corey?
It didn't turn out well. We turned it on in the second half. I picked him off on a pass when I was playing some defense, and we ended up rolling and ended up winning the league championship unbeaten. But Wasion had our backs against the wall. Tyson Langendorfer, Pat Milne was a great running back they had. He was like a 10-8, 10-9, 100-meter guy. Gordy Fry was a great receiver. And they were all young, and I remember thinking, oh, man, they're going to be a problem in the next couple of years.
I think Corey was a year behind Tyson and those guys.
Yep, I think that's right. But, boy, Wasion had a run with those guys, not just in football.
All sports.
Yes.
Yeah, be fun to visit with those guys. And then we have Mark Emmons on our football show the following Monday, a week from this Monday, the 15th, I believe it is.
Talk about class acts.
Yeah,
Mark Emmons, one of the greats, man.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see Corey Griggs Monday. If he's still got a little bit of swagger. I've seen him over the years at basketball games and stuff, and curious to see if he'll talk a little smack on Monday. But he's pretty chill now, man.
Yeah, he's pretty calm and collected these days. Last I talked to him,
he is, and he was good. He knows he was good, but he doesn't act like it. He was. For those that don't remember, we'll talk about this Monday, but he was a generational talent. Everything he did, he made look easy. And I don't know that I've seen an athlete that complete in all my life. I'm serious. All my life. That complete. He'd shoot a basketball, and he had the sweetest looking jump shot you've ever seen. And then he'd play catcher, and he'd throw it to second base on his knees and look like a major leaguer. And then he'd play football and make you look silly. And he was just effortless.
Yeah.
Effortless.
I remember, hopefully Corey will forgive me for saying this, but it's on video somewhere, so I can't say it. But it was, I don't know if it was the semifinal or the state championship basketball game. He made a half-court shot at the end of a quarter of the half. Swished it, came out. Next time Wasion had the ball, dribbles at the half court, goes pump fakes from half court, and just kind of shook his head at the defender. They might have been playing Ironton, because I think they played Ironton in basketball.
That sounds right
too. My memories. It's been over 30 years, but we'll have to ask Corey about that if he remembers that.
Yeah, I think man, he talks some smack, and
he was the ultimate trash talker, probably.
He was the king. But here's what made it so frustrating. He could back it up.
Yeah, he'd get under Coach Lindgren's skin.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about the Rex last night.
He could, and he did. And but again, he backed it up. And so what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? And but I say all that very gracious, because he's one of the all-time greats. He just is.
Yeah, for sure. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll be back Monday night with our podcast and our coaches show.